The way I see it, there are two options. Um, the fact that life emerged from a universe made of stuff, and life is not just stuff. It seems obvious to me that there's a direct implication that death is something similar to life. You know, from nothing, all this emerged, all this grand beauty of interconnectedness and geosynchronously locked moons orbiting within solar systems that produce light that shines for literally billions of years and warms up rocks enough for them to develop weather systems with the available materials, form those into things like clouds that we can then predict and describe. When I think about death and the end of life, I think there's no way something this complex can just emerge from nothing and then vanish without a trace. Where in nature do we see that? Where in nature do we see something disappear without having affected the things around it in such a big way that those things are now what they are? You know what I mean? It's all about the witness. I, as the witness, fearing no longer being able to witness. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's how it works. I think that when something exists, it exists, and that changes the future. The problem is separating life and death. But much like the interconnected duality of the existence of before the Big Bang and right now, there's a duality between on and off. You know, on doesn't exist as a status if there's no off. Same thing, you can't turn off a fire hydrant if there's no pressure causing it to shoot water all over the fire. So there's a definite duality between all the energy that exists at the center of the universe and the fact that we're currently moving around in a particularly low energy state, or whatever you want to view it as. I mean, there's enough space between stuff for us to walk over to the grocery store and eat enough food for our bodies to continue the chemistry that they do. So let all that go. Well, it's like scientists have this problem about the collapsal of the waveform. I mean, everything fits the math, but no one can explain to you what the wave function actually is. Yet they say point backwards in time and you're pointing at the center of the universe. Hello, what do you think the past is? It's a parallel line with what we're doing right now. It's a parallel line with the future. They're multiverses. They're multi-dimensions, states of existence. Think about it this way. If time is a constant, so is the thing that binds light to a certain speed through space. So I personally believe that I'm going to call it the object at the beginning of time. You know, it exists outside of time and it exists within time. And looking back at inflation, we have the incarnation of light and gravity. So, life and death are kind of two sides of this on-off switch that is causing waves of color to come dancing around life. We have to consider life as a series of post-it notes that are just stacking on top. Every little thing that happens, every event, every observable phenomenon, whether it's the air diffusing to equilibrium or a rock falling off of a car, these things are parts of the bigger picture. And each one is actually several parts because every event is a million things happening on a million different levels. This doesn't go away. You can't undo this process. The quantum law of the preservation of information says that these things cannot be changed. They do not go away. And think about the act of remembering something. How can you remember what you never forgot? So, one leads to another. I really kind of want to get back to this object at the beginning of time, because physicists really do say that the beginning of the universe kind of is everywhere. You know, the center of the universe is not somewhere billions of light years from here. I mean, it's backwards in time on a fixed axis in space. You can't look at space and time at the same time. You can't. The farther away, if you are moving, if you are not staying completely still, you know, the more time you spend distorting space by moving, you know what I mean? Or the more you try to distort time by changing the way you move through space, you're tugging in either direction. You know, it's not a straight line. The space-time axis is not a straight line. And we're wondering how light decides to exist when you look at it. I forget what they're calling this problem. It's really a common thing. You can Google it. Just search waveform collapse problem. We can describe how this happens. We seem to know why and replicate it, but we don't know what it is. So here comes my theory. The entire universe is basically an eyeball, a functioning eyeball that looked at the object at the beginning of time. And as a result of that observation, boom, universe spawns, light, energy, explosion. As a result of that quantum level observation from the universal eye of whatever, reality came to be. It was looking at the object at the beginning of time, which is at the center of the universe, which, if that's true, brings in the functionality of the laws of quantum physics, which are, oh, well, the more accurately I know when it happened, I have no clue where the fuck it is, and vice versa. This is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. The thing is, life is not stuff, like I just said. Life is so many things and space between things. Without that space, there's no capability of observing anything, because we would be just as the universe is, and it would be like an ocean. I mean, if you look at the complexity of literally anything, it's nearly impossible to believe that, you know, this life is a singular ebb or peak of a mountain in the middle of nothing that will definitely flow back into nothing. I mean, where do you see a singularity just flash into existence and then disappear? I don't know. Maybe our whole lives are just virtual particles, but then if that's the case, there are an endless amount of virtual particles everywhere. I really, really do believe this life is just the smallest vibrational sliver, at least the smallest ones that we remember while we were here.